Today is December 1st. It's the 336th day of the year, and this is the On This Day podcast. On this day in 1913, the Ford Motor Company begins operation of its manufacturing assembly line. While Henry Ford is considered the father of mass production by many, it's not an original concept. In fact, it's something Ford learns of from his plant manager, William Clan, who witnesses the use of a disassembly line during his visit to the Swift & Company's slaughterhouse in Chicago, Illinois. But it is Ford and his team of company principals, draftsmen, and toolmakers who perfect the process of moving a car in a straight line while parts are added by workers performing repetitive tasks, a process Ford determines to be the most efficient way to build an automobile. On this day in 1913, the conveyor belt starts up, the assembly line comes to life, and Ford reduces the time it takes to assemble one Model T from 12 hours to 93 minutes, producing a new car every 3 minutes. More than 15 million Ford Model Ts are manufactured using the assembly line, which first roars to life on this day in 1913. On this day in 1929, Edwin Lowe, a toy salesman from New York, stops at a carnival outside Jacksonville, Georgia. There, he visits a booth on the Midway that is packed with people who are playing a simple game with numbers and beans. When the carnival shuts down for the night, Ed has a chance to talk to the pitchman, who explains that the game is a variation of one he had seen at a carnival in Germany. That game was called Lotto. The pitchman changes the name to Beano and has great success with it on the carnival circuit in the U.S. After returning home to New York, Ed buys some beans and some cardboard, and he invites some friends over to play Beano. As Ed calls out a number, his friends look to the pieces of cardboard that Ed has covered with rows of letters and numbers, and they cover the corresponding number on their game card with a bean. Ed's friends play the game enthusiastically, so much so that when one woman fills up her cards with beans and yells out the name of the game to signal that she's won, she flubs the name of the game and instead yells, "Bingo!" I cannot describe the strange sense of elation that girl's cry brought to me, says Edwin Lowe, inventor of the game Bingo, based on a Carnival Midway game he witnesses for the first time on this day in 1929. On this day in 1948, the body of a dead man is discovered on Somerton Beach near Adelaide, Australia. He is impeccably dressed in a suit and tie, his shoes polished to a mirrored shine. When he's autopsied, all outward signs point to poisoning, yet chemists fail to find even the most minute amount of poison in his system, and there's no indication of his identity. Only a scrap of paper sewn into a hidden pocket in his waistband. A scrap of paper torn from a rare first edition of a collection of poems by the 12th century poet Omar Khayyam. A scrap of paper containing the phrase "Tamam shud." It's Persian, which in English editions is translated as "It is ended." For 10 years, investigators try to solve the who, what, and why of the case, and in the process they end up following some of the strangest and most bizarre leads, all of which prove to be dead ends. In 1958, the coroner issues his final report, concluding, quote, "I am unable to say who the deceased was. I am unable to say how he died or what was the cause of death." To this day, the case of the unknown man found dead on Somerton Beach on this day in 1948 remains one of Australia's most profound mysteries. And on this day in 1955, a seamstress in Montgomery, Alabama, boards the number 2857 bus at the corner of Dexter Avenue and Montgomery Street. She is black and sits in the first row behind the colored section sign in the middle of the bus. When the white section at the front of the bus fills up, the driver orders 4 passengers in the colored section to give up their seats for the white passengers. 3 of the blacks give up their seats, but the seamstress from Tuskegee remains seated. When the bus driver threatens to have her arrested, Rosa Parks replies, quote, "You may do that." She is arrested and charged with violating the Montgomery City segregation laws. She spends the night in jail and a few days later is convicted and fined $14, including court fees. She appeals her conviction, challenging the legality of segregation. Within days of Rosa Parks' arrest on this day in 1955, the Montgomery bus boycott is organized, and a new group is formed to maintain the boycott, the Montgomery Improvement Association, a body of civil rights activists who elect as their leader a young, unknown minister from the Dexter Avenue Baptist Church named Martin Luther King Jr. In her autobiography, My Story, Rosa Parks writes, quote, "People always say that I didn't give up my seat because I was tired, but that isn't true. I was not tired physically or no more tired than I usually was at the end of a working day. I was not old, I was 42. No, the only tired I was tired of giving in." There are 30 days left until the end of the year. On This Day is produced by me, Dave Schultz. Thank you very much for listening. On this day in 1997, Kenny G sets a Guinness World Record when he holds an E-flat note on his saxophone for 45 minutes and 47 seconds. So if you're still listening, Kenny G. Talk to you tomorrow.